Okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order at 6:07. For the record, if Dennis comes, we'll just join him. Roll call is gonna be, Dennis Gonzalez, absent right now.
Absent.
Erlinda Davila,
Present.
Ana Clark,
Here.
Antonio Ramirez,
Present.
Eloy Zarate.
You have
We have a quorum. Item number 2 on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3 is approval of minutes on the meeting of August 27, 2019. Members, you would go through the minutes. We need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon. If you notice on the minutes, we only had basically one item.
One item, yeah.
Item number 4, which was the final approval of Las Norias at Rancho Santo Domingo subdivision.
A motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 4 is discussion and possible action on preliminary and final approval of the St. Ives subdivision.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is preliminary and final approval for the St. Ives subdivision. This is the popular, now famous project across Walmart commercial project. This is the owner, Rio Grande Village LLC, and Bill Robertson, represented by Rio Delta Engineering, here present. It's requesting preliminary and final approval of the St. Ives subdivision, being a 37.783 acre tract out of Porción 81 on José de la Garza, ancient jurisdiction of Camargo. The area is to be divided into 8 lots. It's going to be serviced by Rio Grande City sanitary sewer. It's going to be a 12-inch water line, and drainage will be provided by the development of conditional letter of map revision of Clomar submitted to FEMA. I know in the audience we have Ms. Beas. She got more information on the project.
Good afternoon, Planning and Zoning Commission members. I wanted to go over this list of items that are in your memo. You've got one in your packet, and you also have one, an amended one that I just passed out. About a year ago, we reviewed this plat, August 2018. It wasn't ready. There were still negotiations being done with the developer. Since then, things kind of moved fast in the last 3 months, and so there's real tight schedules, not only with the funding agency, but also with the developer and his contract that he has with the users of the lots. The subdivision was reviewed by the consulting engineer, Ruben Chapa with Ace Engineering, and of course, Julio Gonzalez is here representing Rio Delta. They are the engineers for the developer. They're asking for preliminary and final, and this is so we can go out for bids on the utilities and on the street. The agreement with the developer is that the city is going to construct. We're basically like a contractor for the developer for utilities off-site and on the street, and also to construct the street. The rest of the construction in the plat, as you see in your plat, will be done by the developer's contractor, who is Grancelli. And what you see right now where they're moving dirt, that is the Clomar, the conditional letter of revision. That is to start getting the area ready to accept the fill, to bring it out of a flood zone. Tomorrow we will have a pre-bid where the construction will, the contract that will be for the creek work, to excavate the creek, stockpile it. His contractor will get it, spread it, and so it'll bring the whole plat and some other additional area out of a flood zone. So as we go down this preliminary checklist, I'd like Julio to accompany me as we're going through it, and you can question and you can answer, because we did have a sort of a staff preliminary final along with the contractor to get more detail. Like I said, this is moving, and as it's moving, things are coming up. So on the preliminary checklist, we know who the owners are. We just don't have it in the package. The deed, who the owners. The topo map, that's something that Julio knows that he's going to be getting. The paving and utility, we had a change in the plans from the one that we had last year. There was a different lot layout, and now it's the one you have in front of you. The street will be wider than what was originally on the plat. El plat todavía lo enseña at 35 back to back. So the council went ahead and approved a 45 back to back, a wider. 42. 42? Back to back. So that's why you don't have right now the construction plans. But in the notes that are here, the construction plans and a pre-construction will be done prior to the subdivision construction. And because the street is being done through a grant, we've got to go through the whole process. It is estimated to go out for bids next week or the following week at the latest for the street.
For the street, for that Rattler Drive?
Yeah. So you can see why this is being like rush, rush, rush. We can't work on a street until the street is dedicated to the city. So while that process is being done, we are going through the bidding process. So that number 3, that's what I was talking about, the construction plans. I think you asked about that. Was there anything in particular you needed to know on Mr. Ramirez?
No, my question was, since it's preliminary and final, I mean, why we don't have the utilities in this paving? But now, as you said, that you need to pass this so you can get dedicated the street to the city, so.
So you can get the grant money, yeah.
We
Yeah.
can have an explanation of, like, you know that the street is 42 back to back. It will have underground storm sewer. It is to also have surface flow to go to the creek. It will have a sidewalk. It'll have LED lighting. The water line running along the street is a 12?
12.
A 12, and with the stub-outs, you know, to the properties, to those lots that you see. It has those entrances, of course. Those common access, the developer will be improving those. It's not the city. We'll only have the main drive, the Rattler Drive, which council is still looking for nominations for a name if y'all have one. No.
Good enough for me.
So that's why the construction plans, like I said, we have the ones from last year, but they're still working on them. They even had already the ones for the street, but they have to go back and redo them to make it wider. Anything you want to add on the utilities, Julio?
Well, the utilities, just what Julia said, it is gonna be a 12-inch water line that we're gonna be, tapping into at the intersection of the 75 realignment and Highway 83. We're gonna take it north to the proposed Rattler Drive, and we're gonna take it east along Rattler Drive, and then we're gonna do a secondary tie-in across Highway 83 to loop the system and to kind of lift the pressure.
Fire hydrants every 300?
Yes, every 300, as far as the 12-inch valves and everything.
Yeah. It'll have a board under the highway.
Yes.
On the-
Yes, for the loop, for the
Yeah,
water, yeah.
yeah.
With the tapping TA en el otro lado.
So those are the utilities, and you know that as each one of these lots starts getting developed, the site plan will also come back to you out for the necessary approval.
But those are gonna be left there, van a dejar los aros y todo ya con las connections de ahí, right?
Yeah, well, the proposed plans are gonna be doing one service connection
For
to
sure.
each lot.
Yeah.
Yes, since, we're proposing the line on the north end of the proposed Rattler Drive. And what Ms. Bell is saying, that whenever, let's say, a restaurant comes in, the city will have to be reviewing their site grading plan and all the infrastructure before it gets approved for construction.
Okay.
So we move on down the list and you go to the final checklist, that's for final approval. And there, basically, it's a repetition of the preliminary, but we do also want to add the restrictive deed covenants. And this is something so that we don't have a disarray of parking or landscaping, that everyone is going to be building standardized as the developer's proposing this commercial development. As you go on to the next one, before recording, of course, and this is all coming from the checklists that are part of the subdivision process. The current tax certificate, they'll provide the construction contract for the 3% city inspection fee, and of course, this is on the Grand Shelley part, not the city part. The city's doing the street, so the city doesn't pay the 3% inspection. The service agreement for the water use, and of course, the water rights, and there's a special note on notes for the water rights, and of course, the service agreement for the wastewater. And that's what we've been working with, because not knowing how much consumption, meter size, and number of buildings, you go to note number 2, you'll see that as that amount will be determined as soon as the developer discloses the type and number of building consumption and meter size. We are requesting the water rights. There is an option to provide the water rights as Class B, because it's quicker, it's a farm, so they'll probably have the Class B irrigation water rights, and we'll probably convert those, so we'll need the necessary amount.
So they're gonna give the city 2.5 of Class Bs for every one they need, right?
A formula, whatever comes
Yeah.
out, how much water we need.
Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah, however water, how much, depending how much water, after we talk to the developer.
For that, Chairman, we have a formula based on, again, they're gonna have to provide the city the proposed designation of the lot, so we can calculate the usage accordingly. It's gonna vary upon usage, so.
It all depends how many buildings are gonna be there and what's the use. Yeah, I understand all that. So at the end of the day, what we're saying here is that we need to move forward on preliminary and final for the city to be able to get that grant so we can get the ball moving.
So in order to use the grant funds on the street, and this, of course, all of these conditions as we're moving through will probably be worked out. It's just a series of events that they have to come forward before some of the other items. So if you go down again on the release, you go to consulting engineers' comments. I think you have a copy of them, but after the meeting, many of them were able to be worked through. So the width remains. It was one of the comments, not knowing that that the contractor for the developer was going to pave all the common access. So we went ahead and allowed that, and same with, say, B, same as 1A. This has to do with all the common access.
Those common access, how do they work? Who's gonna maintain those?
That's why we're requesting the deed restrictions, so we can know who is going to be responsible for maintaining the common access areas.
Because like at the movies, you know, that entrance, there's always a big, all the way back to the movies, there's big giant potholes and nobody ever fixes them.
It was discussed at length at the review, and that we didn't want that situation to be repeated. And so that's why we're requesting those deed covenants and restrictions.
And the railroad tracks, everything's gonna stay.
I don't think the plan, they said to be removed, but the construction plans did.
It says-
Okay, they will be removed,
There will be.
right in front of you.
It's gonna be amended. Amended by this.
There's two monument signs to be allowed. And on the plat notes, you'll notice that the base flood elevation will, once the CLOMAR is done and those elevations are in place, then those are the ones that are going to be used. The plan is to have the plat amended with the new elevations, thereby removing the whole plat out of a flood zone. The other items that were added, of course, were the construction plans with the pre-construction, the as-built prior to the amended plat, and of course, the last one, all outstanding conditions and requirements will be cleared prior to the recording of the amended plat. Because we know that until that happens, until it's amended, that it's out of a flood zone, then the construction goes in.
Okay,
It's a little bit,
yeah.
confusing, but it's a process to first remove it out of the zone.
It's
So you're not gonna
understandable.
be issuing any permits, building permits?
Oh, no,
until-
that's a long ways. No. First,
If in
first
case there
this
is
one.
a permit, if in case there is a permit to be issued, it would have to follow the flood ordinance, that they would have to get a certificate of elevation, and it would be 18 inches above that.
But first, we gotta concentrate on the city part.
So I don't know if you have any questions on the memo itself?
No, with that being said, I think it's a great thing that's coming to Rio. Something that we've been looking for a long time. A lot of things.
Everyone?
Yeah, everybody's excited about it. People seem like opening gifts at Christmas. What's gonna be there? What's coming? What's not coming? So I think it's a good thing. And with all that being said, I need a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions that were presented. I second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion for approval, pending, they meet all the conditions. I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
I'm seconding.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5, discussion and possible action on preliminary approval of the Plantation View subdivision.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is preliminary recommendation approval only. This is a residential subdivision in the area known as Los Treviños between Palm and Mesquite Street. This is actually, if you notice, on the north side where it is known as Double T subdivision, which is Palmview Street. This is the south side of that particular subdivision. It's the Sierra Subdivision LLC, property owner, Mr. Joe Ben Elizondo, represented by Rio Delta Engineering, and needs preliminary approval. This is 31 lots, averaging 0.24 of an acre. Is City of Rio Grande water, 8-inch water line, and City of Rio Grande sewer. At this point, there are no major conditions other than just for the fire department, some basic requirements, blue reflector on the front of fire hydrant, and just some valve testing required. And that's pretty much it for preliminary. We still need to have also construction, pre-construction, and construction of the subdivision, and it will come back for final. And this is just inside the city limits. If anybody has any questions?
I motion to approve.
I have a motion for preliminary approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, item number 6 on the agenda is adjournment. If there's no further questions, comments, meeting is adjourned. For the record, it's 6:28.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.